remember to sign up on Patreon. We're going to do Netanyahu and Abbas, the Palestinian leader. More on Netanyahu than Abbas. I had a very hard time finding anything on him. Now, just FYI, I had the preconceived notion of wrongdoing in Israel with the settlements. And in watching this, I now realize that every time I saw one of those video clips of now these poor Arabs are homeless because the Israelis have taken their homes, I now understand that the Arab landowners kicked out the Arabs out of their apartment and sold it to the Israelis. It just goes to show no matter what you look into in today's world, you pretty much have to be your own journalist. So we're going to look at Netanyahu, and we're going to try and dig deep as far as, does he want peace? Is he the perpetrator of the division, or is he reacting to a division? And I will tell you right now, just a little bit that I've been discovering, this is a mental war zone.
At least is awash with militant Islamists. The militant Islamists led by Al-Qaeda and ISIS on the Sunni side, the militant Islamists led by Iran and Hezbollah.
He starts reacting more to that with Iran and Hezbollah. It would say to me that that's who he worries about the most. Those are the ones that really, if there's a discussion, and that little round table discussion that he has with his military leaders and the insiders and everything else, those are the ones that they're talking about.
On the Shiite side, we want both of them to lose. The last thing,
And of course, we can see part of his body, and it's definitely agreeing with the rest of his body.
we want is to have any one of them get weapons of mass destruction. Look at what ISIS is doing now with assault rifles and pickup trucks. Just imagine what Iran would do if it had nuclear weapons. So both our enemies are fighting one another, and when they are, we can both don't strengthen either one. Iran.
Now, he's taking deep breath while he's talking. It's literally like he's trying to get through, like he's presenting an oral argument, which with all the rhetoric that is coming out on social media and so much area of, is it true, is it not true, are we getting a half-truth, are we not getting a half-truth? That's that deep breath. It's getting through that.
Iran is not your ally. Iran is not your friend.
Obviously, this video was cut, by the way.
Iran is your enemy. It's not your partner. Iran is committed to the destruction of Israel, just as the P5+1, the United States and the world powers are negotiating with Iran a nuclear agreement. The Ayatollah.
Watch his neck getting down into it. I mean, he is digging in with this line here.
Khamenei, the ruler of Iran, calls for the annihilation of Israel. He just did that 4 days
And we go even deeper into it.
ago. He specified 9 ways and reasons by which Israel should be
And he lifts his head because he is speaking with conviction, because it's based on truth.
destroyed. He's participated in rallies and chants of death to America, death to Israel. This is not a friend, neither in the battle against ISIS nor in the effort, the great effort that should be made to deprive him the capacity to make nuclear weapons. Don't fall for Iran's ruse. They are not your friend.
When you say you were baffled by it, did the president bring it up in the meeting, or?
He raised a general issue of settlements, and I said that I think we should address the larger issue, which is not the settlements, but the question of, are the Palestinians ready to recognize a nation?
We see him keep looking this way, and he's thinking about what he's saying. That is not, he's not constructing a deception in that area. What he's doing is he's negotiating the minefield of what he's saying. Remember, what he says, not only is he speaking to the American people in this forum, But the Arab world is listening and watching to what he's saying as well. So he has to be very careful.
Nation state for the Jewish people, the way we're willing to recognize a nation state for the Palestinian people. Are they finally willing to come to grips
And that part was very, very important. Let's go back and look.
for the Palestinian people? Are they finally willing to come to grips with the existence of Israel? And can we create security conditions on the ground? I thought that was the real issue, and it still remains.
He's being very truthful in that. They're willing to recognize a state for the Palestinian people. Palestine has to recognize Israel as a state.
The real issue. So we talked in that level. We did not talk in the specifics of this particular.
Well, is I
And of course, he's being truthful. He's looking down. He's going back to memory. So right now, remember the minefield that we're going to be walking through. He's willing to recognize a Palestinian state, areas. But Arabs can buy and sell and live in Israeli areas. And that's a true, he's being very true thought process.
understand
Criticism.
it, there is also a talk that you may be getting ready to build a larger group of settlements.
It's not a settlement. These are neighborhood of Jerusalem. I think anybody who visited my office, I think you came to my office. This is 3 minutes from my office. This is just a neighborhood in Jerusalem, and in this neighborhood that is now being planned, there are about, I think, 2,400 units.
We saw him go around when he talked about it. He's accessing. He accessed all the information for what he's speaking about. Not a constructed. Going that way does not mean a constructed lie. When you access, as you're trying to recall information, you're going to access a whole lot more of your brain.
What they didn't tell you is that 700 of those units are designated for the Arab residents of Jerusalem. They need housing. The Jewish residents of Jerusalem need housing. Why shouldn't it be? What is this affront to peace? Why can't Jews and Arabs live together?
And now we see his body movement. This is his belief. He's being very truthful. His body agrees with his mouth. His mouth agrees with his body.
What is this enforced separation? I think actually this whole line that says that Jews cannot buy apartments in Jerusalem, you know, the capital of the Jewish people for the last 3,000 years since King David, or you cannot have mixed housing projects.
Capital. We're gonna discuss that just a little bit. For those of you who keep thinking that if he looks or anyone looks at that way, they're lying. Listen to what he's saying
Years since King David.
and where and he goes to that direction with his eyes. He's realizing as he's talking it out loud, mentally in his head, he's talking it there too. Oh wow. I could have pissed off a lot. The Iranians, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Palestinians. He realizes that when he does that. Remember, he has to be very careful about what he says. How does this sound? This sounds like I just peed on everyone. I need to be careful. I don't want to piss off anyone. And at the same time, he's making an argument that to me makes freaking sense.
Or you cannot have mixed housing projects for Jews and Arabs. I think this is anti-peace. I think condemning it is wrong. And I'm frankly baffled. I think it's not the American way.
There you go. It's not the American way. I'm very suspicious on why we cannot find a full interview with this man. I mean, on nothing. And I couldn't find a full interview on the Abbas guy. This is Abbas about the mosque and the Holy Church of the Sepulchre. We're going to just watch him, and you could read on the bottom what he's saying. And we're going to see if he really believes what he's saying.
نحييكم نحيي المرابطات والمرابطين نحيي كل ذرة دم أريقت في سبيل القدس فهي.
Now he's got his head going back and forth, but he's talking to an audience, so he's bringing in the crowd with that. And his body is moving with him.
دماء نظيفة دماء نقية دماء في سبيل الله إن شاء الله.
And of course he really gets into that with his mentioning of Allah.
كل شهيد سيكون في الجنة وكل جريح سيكتب له الله الثواب. هذا الأقصى لنا.
And of course, the tape was cut.
والقيامة لنا. كلها لنا.
You see his head go up as he's talking about it? That's that truth, that inner truth. It is ours. He believes that.
لا يحق لهم أن يدنسوها بأقدامهم القذرة.
And he believes that. And he believes it. I mean, look at this face of disgust as he talks about it. Their filthy feet. It's disgust.
فلن نسمح لهم وسنعمل كل ما نستطيع من أجل حماية القدس.
We've got Netanyahu and the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Netanyahu is not standing straight up. He's not he's not portraying a position of power. And you've got Abbas, who is much shorter than Netanyahu, standing there, and he's not looking directly at Netanyahu. Netanyahu is looking directly at him. So first off, we have Netanyahu. He's not standing in a power position, but he's looking directly at Abbas. Abbas is not looking directly at Netanyahu, but he is standing. And of course reaches over. I believe this woman, that the blonde, is Netanyahu's wife. And as you see, he watches. As any good husband should, he watches. But he looks directly at the wife. So he makes good eye contact with the wife, who is a lesser in terms of her position of world stage, which is what is important to these two gentlemen.
This is your...
Okay, to see you. Long time.
He makes really good eye contact with her. He just won't really look at Netanyahu. Here it is, we have this moment where they're actually looking at each other, and he's still not standing in a position of power. A whole lot of emphasis on Netanyahu's wife. If it's not his wife, I apologize to whoever this woman is, and to Netanyahu. Really good eye contact with, will not look at Netanyahu. Basically what that is saying is, this is the funeral, Perez. I'm coming to you, Netanyahu. I'm coming to you. I'm not in a weak, submissive state, but in a submissive, joining state. And this gentleman, because he won't keep eye contact with Netanyahu, it's almost to the point of he's just being ignored. It's a formality to him to shake his hand. This is just a formality, but not keeping eye contact with him. You see how low he gets in bowing his head towards him. It's just a begging term. It's just begging for some feedback. It just would not look at him. It's just... Now, I do not know who these gentlemen are behind him. I'm assuming more of the Palestine leadership. But they make good eye contact with him. And he's still in that submissive, not a weak submissive, but I'm coming to the table. I'm here to work with you. I'm not attacking you. But see, he stands up, he looks at this guy in the eye. He's still in the submissive. Not too good eye contact with that gentleman. Good eye contact with this gentleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, all delegations are requested to please leave the tent and to move
Good eye
towards the
contact with
ceremony.
her.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Sharon Perez and Abbas with Pope Francis And obviously, the greeting between the two in this light is so much different than Netanyahu and Abbas's greeting. These two are in an embrace, a friendly embrace.
For the historic meeting, Pope Francis said he would make no
Smile, smile, hands together.
attempt to mediate in the Middle East peace process. His invitation was simply a call to pray together.
Much, much friendlier towards each other, rather than Netanyahu, where he's submissive and coming to the proverbial table in a submissive way of, I'm here, please talk to me, please have a relationship with me.
Firing rockets from Gaza, and that they would also arrest them and even beat them. I believe, in my opinion, I believe this is good, that Hamas is playing this role. In other words, Hamas has reached the conclusion that we had reached earlier ourselves, that military resistance has no benefit. And this is why they are talking now about what is called...
You see him playing with his fingers down here? It's like he's grasping at what he's talking about. He's telling, from his perspective, his true opinion.
Wise resistance. In other words, peaceful resistance through demonstrations, slogans.
I find it, he was asked if everything was withdrawn, settlements and all, and they're going to stop rocket blasting, but still resisting.
Etc. And that is why Khalid Mash'al is telling the truth. However, let us not tie this to border or not border.
And there we go, the borders, and that's what he was grasping at. It isn't the withdrawal of that settlements and people getting away from there. It wouldn't stop, which I guess why he couldn't say no, and why it was changed from a physical fight to demonstrations, protest, and what we see a lot now that's going on, social media propaganda, half-truths.
Conditions of the agreement, why it took 6 years to sign the agreement?
It's a very good question.
Thank you.
It didn't take 6 years for us. It takes time. Look, it's first of all, it tells you something related to the last question. Okay?
You know, this is a day ago, and already we're seeing that he does not care what comes out of his mouth anymore. He used to be so controlled and contrived, and he would think about the words that he would use, and now he's not.
The gentleman from Austria. You didn't ask me how come we signed we have an exchange of ambassadors with Turkey, huh? You didn't ask me that question. Sorry?
There are now better relations between Turkey and Israel than Turkey and Austria at the moment.
But you didn't, I don't know that. But you didn't ask me about that, which means that in the real world, what we expect is we maintain, in realpolitik, we maintain relations sometimes with countries with whom we have differences.
He no longer cares about what he says. This was on the 25th, right after the UN, or shortly after the UN's resolution passed.
ועוינת ביותר למדינת ישראל. התקבלה באופן לא ראוי על ידי מועצת הביטחון. מהמידע שיש לנו, אין לנו שום ספק שממשל אובמה יזם אותה, עמד מאחוריה.
You see that shimmy shake? He is extremely upset about the whole Obama administration in there, and we're seeing again, he is not mixing words anymore. The filter is no longer there.
את הנוסחים ודאג לאווירה. זה כמובן בניגוד מפורש למדיניות האמריקנית המסורתית שהתחייבה לא...
I speculate on why he is no longer mincing words is because he's realized that it just doesn't matter. That the kind way of going about it was never going to be.
שלום לכם, אני מברך את אזרחי ישראל המוסלמים ואת המוסלמים בעולם כולו לרגל תחילת חודש הרמדאן.
Okay, we see his hands here. He doesn't have the gate, the locked gate, which is intertwined fingers. We have, this keeps going black, sorry, but we have them overlapping each other, which is like a swinging door. So information is freely flowing.
זהו אחד המועדים החשובים ביותר בלוח השנה המוסלמי, ואני רוצה לאחל לכולכם שנה טובה במיוחד. אנחנו חווים אותה ברגע מאוד דרמטי בהיסטוריה של האנושות ובהיסטוריה של המזרח התיכון. אנחנו חווים את האביב הערבי וכולנו רוצים שהוא יפרח ויצליח. אני יודע שזה נכון.
He keeps looking down.
נכון לגבי אזרחי ישראל הישראלים שיודעים את טעמה וטבעה של הדמוקרטיה ויכולים לשמש מגדלור לאחיהם.
It would suggest, as I watch him look down, now that I saw him do that finger movement where he was looking for a word, I can say that was him looking for the word that he needed. So him looking down is as he's thinking it out. And his words coming from within.
במרחב הגדול הזה. אנחנו רוצים בהצלחת החברות הערביות. אנחנו רוצים בהצלחת הדמוקרטיות הערביות. אני יודע שאם תהיה דמוקרטיה אמיתית, יהיה גם שלום אמיתי. אבל אנחנו לא מחכים לזה. אני הייתי מבקש בהזדמנות הזאת גם לקרוא לשכני הנשיא אבס. שב איתנו לשלום. שב איתנו למשא ומתן. עכשיו. ללא תנאים. כאן ועכשיו. שני העמים שלנו מחכים, מייחלים, שאנחנו נעשה את המעשה הזה. אני יודע עד כמה זה קשה. אני יודע שיש הרבה מגבלות, אני יודע שיש הרבה ספקות. אנחנו נוכל להתגבר על זה רק אם ישב איש עם רעהו, ועם שליחנו, וננסה להתגבר על המכשול.
He'd be very truthful to himself as he speaks this out. And we froze right there on that look on his face. This is an add-on. We're doing John Kerry's speech after the UN resolution. I'm not going to play his whole speech. There's literally nothing in it of significance. I will point out during the speech the notices that I had for it. And right off the bat, I want you to notice the stress lines all the way around. I mean, they go all the way around. And instead of having relaxed brow here, he's automatically starting into the believe me look. And for those of you who are not familiar with the believe me look, it does not necessarily mean deception. It's portraying innocence, meekness, be on my side. I'm with you. That's its portrayal. But when you get it like this, anyways, I'll just point it out.
All of you, for those of you who celebrated Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
He also seems to have Podesta's jaw where it's very slack. It might be the reason why he licks a lot later on, because he does a good job at closing it in the beginning when he speaks. But as he goes on in his speech, he doesn't close it. So he's having to lick the drool back in his mouth. Let's see. I want you to see how long this believe me look goes.
Driven from one biblical city to another. I've also seen the dark side of Hezbollah's rocket storage facilities just across the border in Lebanon. Walked through the exhibits of the hell of the Holocaust. You would not. And we understand that in a final status agreement, there would be an increasing risk of more intense violence between Palestinians and settlers, and complete despair among Palestinians that would create very fertile ground for extremists. With all the United States would have been giving license to further unfettered settlement. In the end, we all understand that a final status agreement can only be achieved and secure and recognized borders. This is widely accepted as well. Trading opportunities with new Arab partners.
So he's got varying degrees of the believe me look. It's really, really high, somewhat lower, but it's never gone. And because he's got that believe me look throughout this entire speech, it would tell me that he is being very disingenuous, that he is selling us on the idea of this two-state solution. Netanyahu is about to state that they have irrefutable evidence that the Obama administration brought this resolution to the UN, and let's watch that.
I wish I could be comforted by the promise that the U.S. says we will not bring any more resolutions to the UN. That's what they said about this previous resolution. We have it on absolutely incontestable evidence that the United States organized, advanced.
I want you to notice how much he is fumbling and playing with things on his little desk. Now, he explains it later, but as I watched this, I was like, oh, and it's always nice to have, when you read a tell, to have confirmation of what you're reading. It helps you as the reader sharpen your skill.
And brought this resolution to the United Nations Security Council. We'll share that information with the incoming administration. Some of it is sensitive.
And that's the part. As I watch that, is like doing a lot of fumbling, avoiding it. You don't want to really talk about it. You're trying to get away from it or misdirect from it. And then he says it. Some of it is sensitive, and he can stand still on that one. Oh, I can't say it. Some of it is sensitive.
It's all true. You saw some of it in the protocol.
And there he's fumbling again.
Released in Egyptian paper. There's plenty more. It's the tip of the iceberg. So
I don't know the Egyptian paper or what he's referring to. And I don't know why bringing a UN resolution would actually be sensitive.
There's plenty more. It's the tip of the iceberg. So they say, but we didn't bring it. And they could take John Kerry's speech with the 6 points. Could be raised in the
And now he has the believe me look.
French International Conference a few days from now, and then brought to the UN. So France will bring it, or Sweden, not a noted friend of Israel, could bring it. And the United States could say, well, we can't vote against our own policy. You just enunciated it. I think the United States, if it's true to its word, or at least if it's now true to its word, should not come out and say we will not allow any resolutions.
And then you watch as it slowly went down. And this is turning into finger pointing at this point, so we won't watch any more of it. How I feel about this situation is irrelevant. And like I said before I added this onto it, there's propaganda on both sides. Anyone blowing themselves out or committing terroristic acts to anyone that they consider an infidel or anyone not like them definitely has less credibility than the Jewish people who just think that they're right. In my book, anyways. If you liked it, leave a like. If you liked the content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.